I cannot believe what I just saw. I don't know what kind of voodoo the Indiana Pacers have been engaging in, but apparently you've got to beat them 5 times in 2 weeks to send them home. Because for the 3rd consecutive series, trailing by at least 7 in the final minute, tonight trailing by 8 in the final minute, the Pacers have won a game out of the jaws of defeat. I just cannot. I looked over at my wife as the last free throws were being shot by the Knicks, and I looked at her and I said, there's no way they do this again. There's absolutely no way they do this again. And they did it again. And in just comical fashion, as Tyrese Haliburton is dancing in the middle of the floor and then just deciding to cover 15 feet backwards towards the top of the key, the shot off the heel that goes way up in the air and the entire basketball world just freezes. And all of us were thinking the same thing. We're like, that kind of went straight up in the air. That's got a chance to come down, and it came down, and the Pacers are up 1-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals on a night. I was talking with Shane. Shane's works on our show. He's a Knicks fan. There is so much to be confident and excited about if you were a Knicks fan coming out of that game, and you lost. You're down 1-0 in the series. I can't believe it. So many interesting things to get into. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss show announcements. Don't forget about our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. It's also super helpful if you leave a rating and a review on that front. Jackson's doing great work on our social media feeds, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Make sure you guys follow us there for content throughout the year. And then keep dropping mailbag questions in the YouTube comments. We're going to take about 10, 15 minutes of questions at the tail end of the show tonight. That's where you guys can decide which direction you guys want to go in terms of digging into some of the deeper details of the series. And then when we wrap up here tonight, we're going to be migrating over to playback, playback.tv/hoops tonight, where we have our after show. It's a lot more informal. We take callers. We take questions from the chat. We watch film. We hang out. We talk shit. It's just a fun basketball talking, kind of hangout hour that we have after the show. So come hang out with us on playback when we finish up later tonight. What a bizarre game. I feel like, it's so funny. I joke with the people that, in my friends and family that ask me what my job is like. I always tell them, like, the craziest thing is these live reaction shows. Because, like, you're trying to piece together all these things that happen in the game. And so, obviously, I prep a lot for my job. So I put together extensive prep for how I'm going to tell the story of the basketball game. And then the Indiana Pacers 3 times in this postseason have made me just rip that up and throw it away as they turn what looks like a very different game into a Pacers win. It's absolutely unbelievable. And everyone knows, everyone who's been following this Pacers team and this postseason run knows, they literally never stop playing. You are not done with the Pacers until the final buzzer sounds. There is no relenting. There's no letting go of the rope. Every single time you make a basket or miss a basket, they're picking you up full court. Every single time you go get a basket, they're taking, even if you make it, they're taking it out and they're trying to push the ball ahead. First available kick ahead pass, first available advantage. They're hunting it. They're looking to attack quickly, feeling as though their ball pressure will wear you down, feeling as though they will be able to win the large sample battle. And for the record, like, even though there was a lot of really encouraging stuff on the Knicks front, we'll get into it, I thought Jalen Brunson looked exhausted in overtime. He had a couple of buckets, but he had a couple of grifts that he got rewarded with 4 foul shots in overtime. You could tell, especially on the last step back 3, the one before the offensive rebound, he did not get a lot of lift on that shot, and he left it way short. And that's the game that the Pacers play. It's a wear and tear game. It's a leaning on depth kind of game. Like, even with the overtime period tonight, only 2 Pacers actually went over 40 minutes. They will wear you down. They never stop. Again, ask Cavs fans. They had them dead to rights. Max Strus gets a huge 3-point shot. They're up 7. Doesn't matter. Game's not over. The Bucks, Gary Trent Jr., 3 after 3 after 3. It doesn't matter. Game's not over. They play with such a furious pace, and they're so capable of getting insanely hot. Aaron Nesmith, that is one of the greatest heat checks you will ever see in an NBA playoff game. 6 threes in the final 5 minutes. Every single one of them was tough, on the move. One of the things I've been talking a lot about with respect to Anthony Edwards is a trend that I expect to see really take over in the new NBA and the future of the NBA, which is seeing supreme athletes become great shooters. It didn't used to be that way. Back in the day, it used to be the supreme athletes didn't work very much on that. It was even denigrated in the lower levels of basketball as settling. If you were a good athlete and you took a three, you were wasting an opportunity to use your athleticism going towards the basket. We are seeing guys like Ant rise and fire and hit tough shots because they have ridiculous athleticism. When you combine the shot making with the ability to get lift and separation, it's deadly. And it didn't matter what the Knicks did with Aaron Nesmith down the stretch. He just rose up, got his lift, and then right at the top, just that flip of the wrist, that's where his muscle memory comes in. And Aaron Nesmith is one of several Pacers players that has just made these minuscule improvements year over year, each of the last few years. And they're all just better basketball players now than they used to be. And then Tyrese Haliburton, we talked about it going into this playoff series. As great as Jalen Brunson has been, and he's been the best clutch player in the NBA this postseason, Tyrese Haliburton has been right there behind him. And he has a tendency to, it's been much lower volume than Brunson, but just unbelievably high efficiency. He just keeps making every single big shot at the end of games that needs to be made. He seems to be very comfortable operating there in the middle of the floor. Oh my God. I just can't believe it, guys. I just can't believe it. The game followed a very interesting flow. Obviously, the Pacers come out red hot, hitting every single shot they take. I think they start the game 8 for 8. Then Mitchell Robinson checks into the game and is just a human wrecking ball, grabbing a ton of offensive rebounds, providing some vertical spacing and ball screens. Is good. Great work on defense, throwing guys around with his physicality. The Knicks kind of regain control of the situation, and they kind of stiff-armed the Pacers in that 3 to 7 point range for a good chunk of time going into that early fourth quarter stretch. We did see, as both offenses were very comfortable in the first half, we saw both defenses shift to a lot more switching in the third quarter, which got rid of some of the natural openings that were existing for both teams, and both teams started to struggle to score the basketball. And all of a sudden, TJ McConnell drives on Jalen Brunson along the baseline, pump fakes, catches a swipe down on his right arm, and picks up Brunson's 5th foul. And it's 94-92 with about 10 minutes left. And the Knicks just completely took over the game from there. OG Anunoby giving buckets to Ben Mather in a step-back 3, an aggressive move in the lane. Karl Anthony Towns draws a foul on a transition cross-match from Aaron Nesmith as he's trailing the play in transition. Deuce McBride, a smart cut to the top of the key, draws a foul. Karl Anthony Towns, another left shoulder hook over Siakam. He kicked Siakam's ass during that stretch. All of a sudden, we look up, and the Knicks are up by 16 points. It's 118-102. Pacers don't really have anybody in rhythm. The game's not over at that point, but at the same time, the Knicks were able to kind of stiff arm them until that 5-minute mark, and it looked like they were going to get out of there with the win. And then all of a sudden, Aaron Nesmith, just every single time down the floor. The crazy thing is the Knicks were getting buckets during that stretch. Brunson beating Ben Shepherd on straight ISO at the top of the key. Karl Anthony Towns, a nice little semi-transition attack off the left wing, gets a layup. They were scoring. And it didn't matter because the Pacers were scoring every single time down the floor.